Yo, folks, welcome back to the channel. As I will try my best to sound as American as possible. I am learning American lingo because we're ready to delve into. I'm not sure delve into is actually used in America that much, is it? But it probably is.
It is, yeah. It's a
Okay,
little bit of like a fancier term, we'd have
sure,
to say.
sure, sure. But you're still using it, right? So it's like I go to college in the USA. Great America. Okay. We are coming back with another video on the RMRs. Obviously, the first one we did with Michael Yumi for the Asian RMRs. Now we're doing one with someone different, as you can see on the screen. It's Mr. America himself. I'm joined by Fi, a good friend of mine, American by blood, by sweat, by tears, by Counter Strike, by lingo, by haircut, by everything. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not like Captain America. I'm like I can't really call myself like Private America. I'm just America, I think. Just
Right.
like blank, all right? So, yeah, well, I'm here. I've seen a thing or two, Ted. I think you personally, I think you brought on a good person for the show.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy you think that I brought up the right person for the show, because that means that you have a couple things to say about all those teams, because it's going to be quite exciting. I mean, it's the first time that we're actually seeing some, and I'm sure there's someone out there in NA that's actually happy that we're seeing the European teams get as many spots out of respectively the groups, right? So again, we're
Love
going into
Brazil.
the NA RMR. I actually think this is probably one of the most difficult RMRs in NA to predict. As much as there's a couple teams that I see as clear favors, there's a lot of craziness that could go on. But just to start it off, by the way, before we delve into all of that, what have you been up to? How's life been going?
Me?
Yeah.
So, Um, my commentary schedule has been looking a lot like Maui snakes in the past 3 months. However,
So
on the other
you've been
front,
to Finland then,
no, I was not in
right?
Finland.
Sure.
It was that before Finland, where it's
Okay.
called I'm on an unemployed world tour. But
So Maui between May and October, pretty much.
yes, Maui
Right.
between
Yeah.
May and October. And
Fantastic.
since then, I've been like a dwarf in the mine. I've been at the anvil with the hammer, except it's my mouse and my anvil is Adobe Premiere Pro, and I've been making YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you, by the way, because I've seen a lot of the vids. By the way, a fun story. I actually didn't know you were making YouTube videos about Counter Strike. I thought it was just the Yu-Gi-Oh content, because I apparently was subscribed to your Yu-Gi-Oh channel. And when you were sharing some, I don't know, statistics from the CS videos on Twitter, I was like, what is this motherfucker flexing with?
Where
He
is this?
hasn't he
Where does
hasn't
this come
uploaded in
from?
3 months on that channel. And I opened the channel, I'm like, there's no bloody Counter Strike content here. Then I realized it was the wrong channel. So yeah, make sure you go and check out Fly's channel. Where he just teased me that he's doing a video for the greatest American organization in Counter Strike's history. But with that being said, we can actually jump into the RMR talk. So I don't know about you, but I was looking at the list of teams the other day, trying to dig out a couple interesting things to, I guess, mention as we're going into that video. And I honestly think that this is probably the most difficult RMR to predict in NA
Mhm.
that I've seen in a while. What do you think
Yeah,
about that?
I can definitely I can agree with that. Well, first things first, before I even talk about the RMR, shout out Brazil for getting us like 4 extra slots from the PGL Copenhagen Major, because 4 teams decided let's have our life tournaments now, and they all made the main
Sure.
stage and got us all those extra RMR spots. Screw you, EU. With that being said, I do agree with that statement. I also got it on my side as well,
Right.
but we're looking at squads like, I mean, there's a lot of like upset potential. Bestia have been playing ridiculously well.
Sure.
Let's give the shout outs to a couple of squads. I'll give my
Okay.
shout outs.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna start it off
Bestia
with honorable shout outs.
Bestia has been playing exceptionally well,
Mm-hmm.
just internationally. I think this team has a ridiculous peak, specifically because of Thomason and Luchov. And I'm a personal fan of Naz. I watched him before he joined on to Bestia, and he was really a player to watch for me earlier on this year.
Sure.
So Bestia, my first shout. Now, next up, I think Legacy need to actually kind of like truly enter in the conversation as a really strong team.
Okay.
Uh, Here they've been really dominating here in North America, and I think they will easily clean up all the feeder teams. But my biggest wild card, I hope it shows up, and it's not the team, it's Boss. I I
Right.
I'm praying for a Boss miracle. Okay, that's what I'm praying for.
I wanna join in on that though. By the way, I have a lot of things to say about Bestia, especially as well, and maybe about
Okay.
Legacy. But the boss conversation, just to keep it going, is that because I feel obviously it's a really easy team to like. They're incredibly likable. Is that the reason that you're hoping, or do you like from a Counter Strike, pure Counter Strike perspective?
Mhm.
Do you think that they actually do have a chance? Because obviously those guys are playing still. I think up to this day they're going to the RMR without boot camp,
A
without
boot
any
camp.
financing. They're doing everything themselves, right? So that's really deserving of respect, and it's not easy. But do you really, as a North American fan, look at Boss and say, you know what, those guys could do it on a good day, or it's more of I have a lot of respect for them. So if they do well, is going to help me to inflate actually how good they did because of the lack of
Mhm.
resources behind it.
I can definitely say with confidence that Boss can pull off upsets.
Okay.
Whether they'll make it to the major or not is a big question, but I feel like they can play against some of these higher ranked teams and surprise. They did that in the RMR close qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
I should actually add, they actually took a BO1 against Legacy, a team I've just been talking about right now. And then, they kind of showed up as an extremely new team
Mm-hmm.
and beat some of the established names here in North America. So I really kind of want to put them into the mix, kind of in the same level of the wildcards and nouns of the scene. And I
Sure.
think a lot of these Brazilian teams have like never seen Boss really play before.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's focusing on like, okay, how am I gonna beat all the best teams? While Boss are looking, okay, how am I gonna beat you guys? Right. So I think they can fly underneath a lot of teams' radars, and I wouldn't be surprised if they rip an upset or two. Whether they make the major or not, I'm not going to say, oh, they've got this in the bag versus the FURIA, Team Liquid, Pain Gaming, but versus everyone else, it's very possible.
Is that the round out of the special mentions though? We're looking at Bestie, we're looking at Legacy, and then we're looking at Boss. By the way, the third one I probably didn't expect. Are those the three teams that you would say are the most likely to pull off a surprising upset for
They're
many
the most
people?
interesting teams. They are by far and away the most interesting teams. Whether they're gonna absolutely take over, I can't really tell you. I could like, oh well, obviously Team Liquid's the favorite. Like I could go on that. I could tell you who all the teams that are probably shoo-ins,
Yeah.
but those three, Bestia, Legacy, Boss, my most interesting ones.
You know what's the thing that I find really precarious about all of this as well? I feel like obviously you already did your part about saying screw EU, thank you for the slots, Brazil, but Argentina is actually playing some good Counter Strike right now. Bestia is getting a shout out. Crew Esports is here as well. I mean, you're looking at all of this. You have eight Argentine players at this RMR, which I think is the first time ever actually there has been that number of teams coming out of the Argentine region. I wanted to hear your opinion on one thing, and I'm glad you mentioned it. In a way, does NA feel like it's just Brazil fighting for it? Are we still gonna get a little bit more of the same? Because again, you're saying, okay, well, maybe not even Brazil only, but just South America in general. You're shouting out Bestia, you're shouting out Legacy, another Brazilian team. You have teams like Pain, you have teams like 9Z, MIBR, Imperial. There's just FURIA, obviously. There's just so much strength without going too deep into those guys, because we're going to mention them obviously in the tier list later on. You have K's, you have Red Cannons, you have so many South American teams. Is it again going to be the Americas just being carried away from South America? Or carried by South America, shall I say?
The only team that I could really like say has hope for me is M80. I don't have a lot of faith in Wildcard, especially on LAN. Wildcard's LAN results have not been good, specifically coming through from JBA.
Sure.
I've been pretty disappointed with the player. I can't say with confidence that Nouns have that they can deal with the teams that are below them, but there are not many teams that are below them. That's the problem.
Right.
I don't see Nouns punching up versus a team like Imperial and like a 9Z or a Pain Gaming.
Okay.
It's especially I believe Nouns play Liquid first, if I'm correct.
I think you are. Yeah. No, Wildcard play Liquid first. Nouns
Liquid first.
play Pain.
Yeah, that I don't see Nouns winning that. Pain are just just another caliber above a team like Nouns at the moment. So it's
Mm.
like I don't believe in the power of Wildcard and Nouns on LAN, and their ability to to punch up. I don't know. It, it pains me to say that. It really does.
Mm.
But I don't think Wildcard or Nouns will be making the major. But if they do, please surprise me.
I want to go back to what you were saying, because you put out 3 teams as the ones that are going to be the most interesting to watch. Who would you say? Imagine you're just speaking to an ordinary Counter-Strike fan that wants to tune in and watch the Americas RMR, and they want to watch some
Mhm.
interesting teams. Which would you say are the teams that you would say, and probably even the players individually? I know this is not that type of a show. If you want to go and check out Sell Me This Pro, go and check out Tegero and Brandon, what they're doing. But obviously there's a lot of talent in here and a lot of exciting teams. Who would you say are the players amongst all the teams, and maybe even in general teams, if you have a couple players that you find interesting on the same lineup, that are the most worth it to be following throughout that RMR?
Lake, absolutely. Lake is by far and away. I mean, I stole his hairstyle. So, um,
I did try and
but
explain to him that Lake wasn't the one to come up with it originally, but he still keeps on saying it, man. Those Americans.
bro, it's just the
Okay.
middle part. It's literally just the middle
I'm just
part.
gonna say it. Sin went into the team with that same haircut, and then suddenly they start signing guys that rock the same style.
I think, yeah, sure. It's not a hairstyle game, all right. I think Rec, by the way, has got the freshest hair on M80 though. I will have to
Okay,
give him that. So,
sure.
but
I think
Lake
ELiGE has got the
has
best haircut on this in this RMR.
yeah, no bias there, huh?
Nope.
No bias. I think he was copying your whole flow there, Ted. I'm not gonna lie.
you know what's the thing? You know what's the thing? I don't feel like I can say anything to him, because the haircut that I have now is the one that he used to have a couple years ago, and probably the haircut I'm gonna have in a couple years from now is the one that he has now. So I am the one copying his hairstyle, but either way is great.
We're approaching ELiGE singularity. We are all slowly approaching ELiGE haircuts the older we get. Either way, with that being said,
Yeah.
Lake by far is a player to watch here
Okay.
for M80. Like, I would follow the tournament just to watch him play and see what he can do on land, because I think this guy is the actual like North American prodigy. We haven't had
Sure.
a player like Lake show up in this scene for at least the last 4 years,
Hmm.
and what he's able to do on one of these teams. We've had players like Grim. We've had, yeah, but he's tossed into a team and then he's no longer the star player.
Yeah.
Lake immediately gets his roles and immediately does well. This is a generational talent we are watching, and he's just only turned 20. So, I mean, there's a lot to look forward to, because he's the player since the best North American player since COVID. Better than all these EG players, better than all
Sure.
these Carpe Diem players. I believe in Lake.
You
So
know what's the thing, when I look at Lake, because it's a really fun thing, and it's a really good point you're making right now. It feels like back in the day, obviously, for those of the folks that have been following Counter-Strike before COVID, uh
mhm.
in NA there was just so many guys to be excited about, right? There was obviously Ethan and Breezy, who were the
Yes.
the main talking points with NA Counter-Strike from 2018 2017 on NRG up until EG, and
Yep.
before Ethan decided to just go for a Valorant career.
Leaf and Zeppa.
There was Zeppa as well. There was Fang as well, who I think at the start in complexity was actually quite excellent. I've always liked Fang as a player. There was a lot of guys to be really excited about. A lot of guys that you could just see that they have the individual skill, and that they can be stars, but they just need to be taught to play proper professional Counter-Strike, and have the work mentality of, let's say, well, at least try to reach the work mentality of someone we already mentioned, like ELiGE, right? So I think looking at Lake, And I'm not gonna lie to you. Obviously, I started watching M80 because of Sin and Slacks, because I just rate Sin incredibly highly as an in-game leader. I got
Yes.
excited watching a North American young player that I didn't know for the first time in a while. What do you think is the main way to describe what helps Lake stand out from the rest? What's special? What is the special thing that you see in him that you don't see in other
He
players?
he's not a gamer, dude. He's not a gamer. He's not like some quiet, laid back guy
Sure.
who it's a mentality thing that is so completely different. He's a vocal player in his squads. He's like I would like put him as like a modern Stewie 2K is the
Okay.
way I would compare Lake.
I mean,
Just in the way that
I
he
can see the
plays.
behavioral layers on there. I guess there's a bit of a
Yeah, I mean,
similarity.
he's generally a nice guy. I wouldn't even call him like a strong personality and not like,
Sure.
a Stewie 2K where it's like, okay, well, I joined this team, now it's my team now,
I
type of thing.
probably like
That's at
the
least that.
goofy characteristics more so.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely that. A lot more talkative,
Mm.
and just like a better like someone who's able to like communicate himself well. And when you're in a team environment and you're trying to learn from better players, communication is key. You can only teach yourself so much. So when you're talking back and forth, you're discussing your plays, your lines.
Hmm.
That ability to communicate yourself is so important.
Sure.
And he has a star player personality, is what I will say about Lake. Um, that's what he's. By the way, like he spent most of his high school years and even into college playing volleyball, in between competing at the tier 2 level here in Counter Strike,
Hmm.
and then he's also a frat boy, so helps out that he's not that much of a gamer, guys. So it's the whole point is that like just a completely different personality than someone like a Grim or a Floppy or
Hmm.
anyone like that. Um, he's he's mature.
Okay. Okay. I like that. I'm a big fan of that. I can back that as well. It kind of looks like it from the outside, and
Hmm.
I think he gets a pretty big bonus. By the way, the fact that the moment that he makes the transition into a higher level, he gets to play with a German Oper, German IGL, and a British coach, right? So
Yes.
he's getting the strategical, I guess, the strategical side of things figured out by Europeans for himself. So he gets to learn how to play that more structured, more calculated type of Counter Strike a lot earlier in his career than a lot of the other American prodigies, let's say, who spend a couple years after being a bit more exciting, and then it kind of feels like they fade off, right? But there is another American team which I want to touch upon right now, and that is Wildcard, another American team that actually went overseas to, or over an ocean to, look for solutions. They didn't go for an IGL though. They went for an Oper too. We're talking about Wildcard here. Now I'm a big Fuzi and Sus fan. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching those guys play. I think they were already really good when they used to play in Europe. And obviously, I used to support EG back in the day when Stan was the IGL, and obviously they had Breeze and Ethan and Cirque and Tarek and that good old lineup. So I really enjoy the fact that Stanislaw still has the drive, I guess, for the game. I honestly find it really easy to like that wildcard team, especially with Sobo being the coach as well, again, coming out of Europe. But
Hmm.
for wildcard, things seem to be a little bit more shaky, even though, for whatever reason, every single time I watch them play, they actually play pretty decent Counter Strike. So for me, it's really difficult to actually come to the conclusion on why this team is not able to at least be on a similar level as, let's say, an M80.
I mean, there's a variety of things, and why I'm like normally Wildcard M80 kind of play, stand at each other toe to
Mm,
toe, um, in a lot of their tournaments. They even took him
yeah.
down on LAN back at Challenger Atlanta, just about a month ago. But the biggest problem is that their performances on LAN are going to be really inconsistent. JBA is a kind of like he's an anchor player.
Yep.
He's a very passive player. He relies a lot on his aim. He's like, okay, we're going to put him in this position, get two,
Sure.
basically. But when it comes to playing on LAN, he completely falls off a cliff. That's my biggest problem is that there are just inconsistencies in this lineup.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people, I myself even hyped up JBA, but seeing how he hasn't really gained a lot of traction since his first RMR appearance earlier this year in March. Same story. Completely falls off on LAN. Once again, as we head into Challenger at ESL Pro League, more of the same. I think he had like a 0.85 rating, considering that he just absolutely farms North America. But when he gets targeted, he doesn't do well underneath that kind of pressure. While the rest of the other four are solid players, like I like Susp and how he plays. Sonic has actually been playing exceptionally well lately. The same. JBA has become a big weakness instead of becoming a big asset. He also doesn't have that same personality like Lake. He's not really a talkative player. He's a guy who just kind of focuses in and tries to do what he can. So if he's not playing well, there's also a chance that he's not offering as much to the team as someone like Lake, where he has a bad game, he can still play. He can still communicate. He doesn't take himself out.
Sure.
So that's my biggest worry here for a player like JBA and for the team at Wildcard.
Okay, so we're talking about the possibility of Wildcard maybe emotionally falling apart more than Counter-Strike wise. Is that where we're going with this one?
I think they are a very competent team. When things are going well, the team also does well. But
Sure.
they have weak links. That's their big problem.
Okay.
And that can be exploited by any roster in this RMR.
Okay, so they are, as much as you believe that they, for example, could be a team to upset some of the better teams, they could be one to fall apart against the ones below them in a way.
Yes, I will say that this is going to be a proving tournament for JBA. If he cannot perform on LAN and get this team to a major, he's probably getting cut.
Okay.
Considering that he was like all the hype 4 months ago in the summer, going into Pro League, going to Challenger Atlanta, like a lot of exciting things. JBA, I think, is on the chopping block if things do not go well here.
Okay. I think this is probably a topic that could be discussed for some of the teams, right? Especially with how important it is now to qualify for the major. That's actually something that we didn't mention, but you are getting a free opportunity, especially if you're some of the, I don't want to say lesser teams, but smaller teams that don't really participate in that many international tournaments. You're not going to get as much prize money as some of the top dogs, right? So it could be a lot easier for them to actually capitalize on the opportunity that they have now to qualify for the major than it could be to actually make it into one next year, right? So this is a great opportunity for all of those guys. And the one thing that I want to, the couple things that I want to discuss, because I want to get the top dogs involved as well in a way now. But one thing I'm always looking at when the tournament goes in is obviously we're going to discuss that with a tier list, and there's going to be no complaints about, putting FURIA, Team Liquid, Complexity, Pain as the top.
Oh, you think Complexity are a shoe-in?
Well, I'm talking. No. Hear me out. We're talking on paper right now. I'm just over exaggerating a little bit. If you can just put Fury and Liquid, are we happy with that? To go through without giving a lot of reasoning. I like looking at some of the better teams and saying which are the teams that are most likely, if one of them or two of them had to, actually fail miserably, right? Because most of the time this is going to happen. It's going to happen to someone. Right.
Okay.
So this is where I want to shift that conversation now. Looking at the teams that on paper probably should do well, who do you think is most likely to have a massive blunder?
A shit the bed? I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this question. Okay, so I'll just name off some teams that I think are shoe-ins.
Sure.
There are 3 of them.
Okay.
FURIA, Team Liquid, Pain Gaming. Those teams are undeniably so consistent. They're good enough. Even FURIA, I feel like they could lose a BO3 to one of these teams. But
sure.
You have Yuri Queserato as just this floor that is going to get you through the easy games.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I want to add something to that. Skulls farms on this level as well.
I know. This is like his. This is his.
That's
backyard.
where he was born. It's like, oh, I'm back on Pain again. That's so fun.
This guy is. It's gonna he's gonna be backyard brawling. So I don't have any concerns about FURIA, even though they're not really consistent against EU competition. Sure. Liquid are just generally a pretty good team. They're just good. They're just a level above all the rest. They're better than FURIA, in my opinion. And teams that can and maybe will shit the bed. Complexity Gaming. I mean, everyone knows. Everyone knows this team should be so good. They should be. But they never, ever play to their expectations in a good and bad way. And when you think they're bad,
That's
they're
my
suddenly
question
good.
though. Should the team be really good? Should the team be really good, or
Yes.
are you expecting ELiGE's team to be really good? That's how I want to phrase the question. Is it that Complexity should be really good as a team, or is it that you're looking at ELiGE and the fact that he's probably been one of the best rifles in Counter-Strike 2 since the game came out, and you're thinking, well, it's impossible for ELiGE to be so good at the game and for the team that he's playing on to be shit?
There's one other thing that actually is working in Complexity's favor, and I think that Grim has actually been playing a lot better lately,
Sure.
even in some of their losses. So at least just statistically wise, he's having more games. Like it's the Grim is like a player who's like, yeah, we've seen him farm back in his early days here in North America, and like 1 in 20 games he'd have a good one. But now I think I hope he gets some of his confidence back. But he's been playing a little bit better. Halzark is still such a massive question mark for me. But this team, I don't want to even like believe. So yes, I will just say the odds are very, very high, and 0 people should be surprised if this team does not make the major.
You know what I think? I think this is probably going to be the most scrappy RMR ever in Complexity's history. I just find it difficult to imagine that ELiGE is not gonna decide, you know what, guys, I'm gonna
win.
I'm gonna do my best David Goggins impression. I'm gonna put all the balls on my back, every single one of them, and I'm just gonna drop 30 bomb after 30 bomb against some of the teams that we should be beating as a team, but apparently I gotta do it alone. I just find it really difficult to imagine that ELiGE is not gonna be able to roll through this one. And as you say, Grim has been playing well. Halzark, I actually on a good day think is a really legitimate player, but it's just it feels like it's impossible to predict what face of Halzark you're gonna get. Whether you're gonna get the happy guy that's just running around the server destroying everyone, or the guy that wants to break through his desk like the desk stole his lunch, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna I'm honestly always on Complexity pessimism. I joke that the best way to support Complexity is by not watching their games.
Right.
Because like if I watch it, I feel like I'm always in for just something that will ruin my mood for the whole day. So you know what? I decide to take peace with myself, and Hakuna Matata, and let life just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Okay. Is it just Complexity though? Is that the only team that we're looking for? Because let's say we live in a world where the teams that you pointed out, Legacy, Bestia, and Boss, have a really good run and they're able to miraculously make it through. Complexity is the team that we're saying number 1 is gonna flop. Who are the others?
Made in Brazil, MIBR.
Okay.
Like this Lucaozy edition has shot them in the foot so badly.
Sure.
Right now, I when you look on paper and you say, let's go ahead and add Lucaozy to this team. Lucaozy is a player who is a hyper aggressive rifler who has been dropping 1.3 ratings in Brazil. But if you actually look how he plays, he is a player that will, yes, win you rounds on his own. He is also a player who will lose you rounds on his own. He is a player who on Fluxo was, by the way, Fluxo for the first half of this entire year played without a coach. So they're basically just saying, all my players just do what they want. And Lucaozy was just hitting timings off of his teammates like this. He's kind of playing against his team. Like his team takes contact somewhere else. He's going to be the person activating as the aggressive rifler on the other side of the map.
Sure.
This MIBR team does not function like that. Not at all. And this is really hard for him to adjust to. And this kind of playstyle will not work on MIBR. This MIBR team has so much to solve before this RMR to get this guy integrated in this team. Lucaozy is a good player. He does have a lot of star potential, but he is such a loose cannon as well. And I feel like MIBR, not just like they might shit the bed, I think they will. I think they are so on track to making so many mistakes and getting upset by a couple of these teams.
You know what's the crazy part about all of this? I actually thought MIBR before they made the change. I thought they were perfect. I thought they
I
were
thought they were
playing.
great.
Yeah, same. I thought they were on the right track. They looked. I'd say they looked better than FURIA. I thought they were probably one of the best teams in North America, if not probably the best on a good day. Right? Everyone was doing a good job. Safe was great. Drop was doing fine. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Burns was actually not playing too bad. So when I saw the news, is the fact that I liked MIBR. I've always liked Lucaozy as well. He was doing good on Flux, so I think he's a really skilled player. But as you pointed out, he's going to be that type of a guy that you're looking at and you're saying, okay, it's like an example that we can give is probably, you remember when Emor used to play on Eternal Fire. If you have to make European references, is that type of a player that, as you pointed out, it's either going to bail you out and make a play that's going to open up the entire map for you, or he's going to make a play that is completely useless for everyone and it's just going to go down. And as you said, since being added to MIBR, it kind of feels like he's trying to adapt to it. And obviously, he's going to need a little bit of time because South American Counter-Strike is a lot wilder. And I think he's just got the skill set where he can get away with a lot of crazier plays when he's just playing domestically. And now that you're actually playing against some of the best teams in the world, it's a little bit more difficult because people on the other side can shoot back as well. The thing is, on paper, you see why he is a good player. You see why they picked him up. In reality, the way I'm gonna put this as a running back question to you: do you really need both Insani and Lucaozy on the same team when Drop has shown that he can be a little bit more aggressive as well in the last couple of months? Do you need all three of those on the same team?
I I I don't think so. I feel like this change was really unnecessary, especially just like a month before the RMR qualifiers happened. When was Lucaozy signed? Like very middle of September, I believe.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Let me just see. Yeah, end of September he joined. Like a month out from the RMR is really scary. And I don't think they needed to make this change. I think that lineup that they previously had would pretty it wouldn't be comfortable. I don't think they can really like hit hard versus the top dogs like the Furia, Team Liquids, and Pain Gamings. But everyone else, I think they could run competitive games against. I'm willing to be proven wrong. Obviously, there has been a lot of time in between their last officials. They played at ESL Challenger Katowice. That was about coming on 3 weeks ago now. So a lot is different, and a lot could have changed. A lot more integration could happen. But honestly, MIBR have also kind of been choke artists at majors as well, just at RMRs. So, like they didn't make Copenhagen, but 5 other Brazilian teams did. So, just putting that into perspective, I think MIBR could cough this one up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to agree with this one. So now we have complexity. We have MIBR. I actually want to throw in a 50-50 in there as a third one. I know I'm asking you, and I asked you for the first 2 teams. Now I'm gonna give you 2 teams to choose between. Which one is more likely to actually do something like that? Because I can give you arguments for both, and I think you're gonna be able to give me arguments for both. I'm looking at both 9Z and M80 and thinking one of those is not making it through. I can't decide which one. I know we already had that late conversation. I like M80 as well, but I mean, man, I was put in a position where I had to cast Bestia absolutely annihilate M80 twice in 2 days. I know this is just one tournament, and I am a big M80 enjoyer at this point, but if you are sometimes dropping the ball against a team like Bestia, even though Bestia are playing really good and they did really peak in Thunderpick and M80 have more LAN experience, is it possible that M80 dropped the ball as well? And then on the other hand, 9Z, even though they have Martinez, even though I actually think they are probably one of the first teams in the last year to show everyone else that they can play fundamental Counter-Strike in South America in domestic competition, not just run around fully crazy like you're playing on a Faceit game. We know how wild South American Counter-Strike could get, and now a lot of teams are starting to play it a lot more logically. I think 9Z actually were some of the first ones to make everyone else realize that they can play like that, but they still have been incredibly inconsistent in the last couple of weeks and even months, I guess you could say.
Yeah, they're having a couple of like really rough patches of form. Like specifically, Hawasso Peak has not been performing up to snuff. at the moment, and like I can't. I will say it that like Bestia like that was a massive overperformance from them. Thomason does not drop those kind of like this guy was running around like donk and just first bull headshotting everybody.
I'll say I've casted
And
a while. I've casted quite a decent amount of him in South America, and I know it's not
I have as
international
well.
CS, but Thomason is a damn good player. I'm a big
Yeah,
Thomason fan. I believe he can do it again.
yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give you that. I think Thomason is a good player, but I will say yes, it was a massive overperformance.
Sure.
On the other hand, 9Z have kind of shown this level of inconsistency since this entire season. I won't say
Yep.
they've put up a single good result in these last 3 months. A lot of people rate them highly because the last thing they remember was IEM Dallas, semifinals placing. This team has not done a lot lately, and I think this team might be a little overrated going into this RMR and
Sure.
what they could do. So, um, do I think M80 and North America are gonna keep choking again? Um, I will put down the 50-50 onto 9Z. Um, I think they're extremely overrated going into this tournament. And M80, on the other hand, have still been like, yes, they went over to Thunderpick. They got kind of throttled by Bestia. But at the same time, they've just been playing extremely well here in North America. And yeah, I have some better faith in M80, just like knowing the players on the team.
Okay.
As opposed to a squad like 9Z.
Okay. With that being said, I think because there's actually I just realized we've already been speaking for 36 minutes. There is a lot to be said about those teams. It's always
Okay,
tricky when there's
let's
so
wrap
many
this
guys
up.
too. No, we're not wrapping it up. We're going
We're
to
not wrapping it up?
No, we're going to a bloodly tier list, my friend. This one is not gonna be a 30-minute tier list, but it's just
Okay.
to put everything that we've just said into a bit of a perspective, right?
Okay.
So we have 5 tiers. You're doing this, by the way. We could both give our perspectives on it, but you're the one making the final decision in the end of the day.
Okay.
So we have we'll make NACS look great again. That's pretty much the teams that are gonna go through 100% and could do some damage at the major. Should make it through, pretty self-explanatory. Potential dark horse, needs a miracle, and better luck next time, or as a lot of people might want to read it, yes, exactly. So yeah, by the way, when I put the BONT, I didn't realize what it could stand for. Now I'm realizing it as I'm seeing it on my screen, and the fact that it's got a green background is even more poetic. But
Go ahead, full screen this tier list for me real quick.
You can't see the entire thing?
I mean, I can, but it's like so low res that it's hard for me to even read what the tiers are.
Right. Okay. So the highest one is will make NACS look great again. So this is the 100% they're going through. Second one is should make it through. Third one is potential dark horse. Fourth one is needs a miracle. Fifth one is they have no chance, better luck next time.
Okay.
Right. So we're gonna start it off with the better luck next time. We're gonna start it off with the teams that you think have zero chance of making it through.
Well, okay. Shitters on Shitter Watch here. Put Case and Crew down there. There's no way any of those teams are doing anything. They fluked their way through the RMR qualifiers. Those teams, hot garbage. I have no faith in Crew. They I hate to break it to them, but they got lucky. They're an aging team. They're an old team that should not be competing against any of these teams, realistically. And Case are just way too. They're tier 3. I don't have any faith in Case. They don't even put up results in South America. So yeah, have fun, guys. You guys will get your land picks. That's it.
Okay.
Another team that I really don't think will make it. We haven't really touched too much. Red Cannons are a dark horse. I'll give them. I'll put them in the dark horse category.
Yep, I can back that.
A team. The definition of Red Cannons: a team that can beat anyone and also lose to anyone. So, Yeah, I'll give that team its shout because they just run around and shoot everything. You have Venom, Zera, David, even
Mm.
Cold Zera's been playing well.
Coda's been playing
Uh,
really well, yeah.
yeah, Cold Zera has actually been like having a field day back in South America. Um, other, I will put Nouns and Wildcard into Need a Miracle. I
Sure.
think I don't have a lot of faith on either of those teams on LAN. Just not enough international experience
Why
for
do I
these
feel like you're
players.
gonna put Boss above Wildcard and Nouns?
I'm gonna put them in the same tier, but
Right,
ahead of Wildcard and Nouns. They do need a miracle to make it.
right.
For Boss, but I think they're a team that is much more likely to pull off upsets than
Sure.
a team like Wildcard or Nouns. Like I could see them like stealing a BO1 versus a team like a 9Z or an MIBR or an Imperial.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I Boss do need a miracle, but I think they're a team that can pull off miracles. Can they pull 3 miracles in a row? I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I can't really like call like it feels weird to call Imperial like a dark horse. They are kind of like a known quantity.
Okay.
But we'll put them in that category ahead of Red Canids. I think Imperial are a better team than Red Canids. Get Legacy in there as well.
Sure.
In that dark horse category, like they could either make it, and or not. Um, I guess Bestia's got to go in there as well. Just recent form, recency bias
Hell
going
yeah.
crazy right now.
You know what? I'm gonna say it's not recency bias because I literally think those guys, because they made it into the Copenhagen RMR as well, didn't they? But they just choked completely and they didn't do anything. I I honestly believe the first time was a learning experience and it was a bit of a shell shock situation where you just leave Argentine for the first time to play international Counter-Strike. I really believe that those guys have the quality of Counter-Strike. Uh so I wouldn't say is obviously there's a bit recency bias because they took down M80, but Bestia
mhm.
looks like a team that has been building up like a foundation, gradually just playing better and better Counter Strike with time. Obviously, they just made a roster change like what, a month ago, a month and a half ago. But the core of the team has stuck around for long enough to actually make me believe that they can play to a pretty similar level most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You have some better faith. That's for sure. Other dark horses. I mean, MIBR is definitely not a shoe in. I guess that they're like all this like Imperial, Red Canids, Legacy, Bestia, MIBR, and even toss in 9Z to that equation are
Sure.
all on like the same level.
Okay.
It could be. It's like honestly, it's like
You wouldn't put
50-50.
Imperial one level above all of those guys, or it says the same?
9Z and MIBR above all the 3 that we've just mentioned. Um, it's hard to move everything over. And Imperial behind MIBR. I think MIBR are a better team than Imperial
Okay.
currently.
Sure.
I will say, like, all right. I think I'm about to put an end to my pessimism and just say that yes, complexity should be making it to the major. All right, let's just stop like doom and glooming here.
You know
And
what's
then
the thing?
Liquid
You
Fury.
you can be all negative about complexity when the major starts and they gotta play against European teams and they gotta play against 3D Max, and you can say, well, you know what? The tier 2 French gods are just going to destroy them. You can be
Yeah,
negative
they're gonna
then.
get
You,
dismantled.
you can be negative then. But here, man, come on. I mean, they should be able to deal with Case Crew, Nouns, Boss, Wildcard, right?
Yeah, I mean they will deal. I can't even say that they'll deal with the North American teams. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like that's actually the teams that they might lose to. Like,
Right.
I think okay. So the thing is that I can envision complexity losing to all the teams that are beneath them besides Case and Crew.
Are
Like,
you sure this is an objective opinion, or this is just your NA
like they are
mind?
favored in every matchup, but they can be upset by like every team.
Right.
So it,
Yeah.
it's just like, how do complexity wake up? Do they feel like they want to get upset? All right, you know what? Screw this. I've been talking about pessimism for too long. Liquid Furia, Pain, shoo-ins. I don't have any doubt in my mind that all 3 of those teams will make the major. It will be extremely newsworthy if they don't. Now, where do
We're left
M80
with
go?
one.
Are they like I want to put them on the same tier as the MIBR, the 9Z, Imperial, Red
Mm-hmm.
Canids, Legacy, Bestia. All those teams can beat each other, lose to each other, and let's go ahead and do that. Kind of in that same level, that row right there. M80, MIBR, 9Z, Imperial, Red Canids, Legacy, and Bestia, they can all beat each other. That's the
Okay.
levels that we've got.
You know what I would advise only, and this is, I mean, that would be a little bit of recency bias, I guess, as well, but I I really am looking at Imperial and saying this is probably one of the more solid teams in there. I honestly believe that if you're looking at the average, we're not talking about how a team plays on a good day, how a team plays on a bad day. We're talking about average, right? On
mhm.
on their worst days, even I would still say that Imperial have been together for long enough and have the experience and have the relaxation. The one thing I
Mhm.
think Imperial have over a lot of the teams in here, Imperial just looks like the happiest team in the world to me. Every single time they play, no matter how badly they might be losing, no matter how badly things could be going, Vinny is always smiling. He's always in a good mood. And I,
That's
I,
true.
I honestly believe, obviously, Try is a, a bit difficult to predict because he's an incredibly skilled player, but consistency has been evading him a little bit. I really do believe that the vibe being that good and the atmosphere being that good on Imperial helps them to get the best out of the players. And that's the only reason that I actually, in my mind, have no doubt that Imperial are going to make it through. Even though I completely agree with you that they could lose to every single
Yeah.
team in this tier. I believe that in terms of the pure energy on the team, in terms of where they
In
are
like a
as their
LAN
development.
RMR environment,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Imperial losing at an RMR? Yeah, you know what? You make a very good point. Like, if I had to say, like, considering the tournament context, I say that actually you changed my mind. I think Imperial should be making it to the major. Whether
Okay.
they'll do well at the major, that's a bigger question.
Yeah.
But um, I think you're 100% right. Like, Imperial are the most consistent team
Exactly.
here. Like, that is something to really mention. Like,
Yeah,
you
and
have a
I
lot
think
of players
Vinny
to
is
call
a
out.
little bit underrated as an in-game leader, by the way. As it's really difficult to say exactly how he is as a leader, right? Because obviously it's not
Hmm.
English-speaking team, and you don't get as much insights and as much interviews. But I just think he's that type of a guy that is the leader. People listen to him because of his experience, but then in the meantime, he's not trying to enforce his character and his opinion. I feel like people just want to listen to him. And I think obviously you have a more flamboyant guy like Phelps, who's a bit more emotional. But as long as you have one of those, and then everyone else is really positive, and you have Vinny to balance, then it's a lot easier to build some consistency. I don't know, man. Like you put it, I'm just looking at Imperial. I find it difficult to imagine them not
Yeah.
making it through. I honestly find it easier to imagine Complexity not going through than Imperial at this point. But
Yes, you
I
know.
but I think both teams will. I think both teams will.
Yeah. I have. So yeah, it's like those top five, and then like it's absolute carnage for those last two slots. Um, like by the way, there's just like
That
there I
actually
have
looks quite fun when you think about it. I mean,
yeah,
you're saying Carnage between M80, MIBR, 9Z, Red Can, it's Legacy and Bestia. I'm all in for that.
yeah. Are any of those two teams playing each other in the opening round? I should add. Um, we have Complexity taking on Bestia for a fun for some fun.
Oh,
9Z face off versus Red Candidates. Again, that game can go either way. Um, other than that, none of the middle of the pack are really facing off against each other early on. MIBR get a free win versus Crew, Imperial get a free win versus Case. Simple as that.
sure. Yeah. I think we can agree on this. And I think now we can wrap it up, actually, because I think we're quite happy with this. You're happy with this? You wouldn't change anything?
Absolutely, I'm cool with it.
Nice. Okay, so we're on the same page. You know what? I actually take that as a massive W because I made you see something positive and optimistic about Complexity, and I made you appreciate Imperial as well, and all of that in one episode, all of that in just one conversation. That was fantastic. But yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, thank you very much for joining me. That was a fun conversation, man. I wouldn't have been able to say all the things that you said about North American Counter Strike. I guess that's why I had you on. But Yeah, that was fun. Everyone, make sure to go and check out Fi and the YouTube content that he does and all the videos that he does. I'm gonna leak
Yep.
it now. He's doing a video about an organization that I have a jersey of in my wardrobe. For those of you that know what there is in my wardrobe, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, that is pretty much all of you. Well, I guess you gotta go and subscribe to Fi and find out. But yeah, thank you for coming over. I'll see you soon. It's 2 a.m., so I want to go to bed. Good night to everyone. I'll see you for the
Appreciate it.
EU video.